The Phillies take a commanding 2-0 lead in the NLCS, but with the series shifting back to Arizona, what do the D-backs need to do if they want to even up the series?
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas. I've been doing this podcast since 2020, and now we are watching the Dbacks in the NLCS, but unfortunately, the Dbacks are down 2-0, and to talk about tonight's blowout loss to the Phillies, we got Sully Baseball of Locked On MLB on today's show. And real quick, before I forget for the listeners, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Sully, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing okay. I can't imagine tonight was a lot of fun for you. As my mom would say, the final score was a lot to not enough. If the Diamondbacks stayed in the hotel and the game was forfeited, the final score would have been 9-0, which would have been better for the run differential than what they actually did. You've got to be able to beat not attending the game.
Yeah, very not the funnest game I've had. Is that even a word?
Funnest?
I know,
Really?
no.
Funnest?
As I said, I was like, Dr. Sully's going to be mad.
Yeah,
at
my
me.
mom has just brought out her little pen.
Yeah, I
Corrected that.
apologize for that.
You know what, Mom? Give him a break because his team just got the doors blown off his car. So he's not exactly thinking straight. You know what the funny thing is, Millard, is if you are just a casual baseball observer, and neither one of us are, you would see the final score, 10 bagel, Philadelphia. You shrug. You say, do you know what? Phillies just had it. Diamondbacks just didn't. It's not like there was one event that could turn around a 10-0 game. There was one moment that happened in the game tonight that your pal Sully started yelling at the GD And I say GD because I don't want an MA rating on this podcast here.
Okay.
There was one event that I said, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And they did it, and the game went off the rails. Now, I want to, because you and I teased this before we started recording, but we didn't tell you what it was. What do you think the thing that drove me absolutely batty that happened in today's game?
Well, at first, when we were talking pregame, I thought maybe it was that little infield pop-up that just got caught by nobody, but the game was already out of control at that point. So maybe it was when Merrill Kelly, when Torey Lovullo decided to pull him instead of keeping him out there and going with Joe Mantiply to try and get that final out against Bryson Stott.
Exactly. Because at that moment, Kelly actually pitched pretty well.
Yeah.
He let up 3 runs, but they were all on solo homers, 2 by Kyle Schwarber. And let me just say, as someone who grew up a huge Red Sox fan, why can't the Red Sox get players like Kyle Schwarber?
Would think, right?
They'd be able to get players like him.
Yeah, perfect fit.
Yeah, I know. There's no way they could. But they let up the 2 home runs to Schwarber, and who was with the other home run? Was it Greg Luzinski? Was it Jimmy Rollins who hit the other one?
Was it Turner?
It was Turner. It was Turner.
Yeah.
And he got into that jam in the 6th, and then he got 2 outs. He got the strikeout, he got the pop-up, and we all know Kelly's a very talented pitcher. And we also know that, if he got out of that inning, you wouldn't have to dip, they would not have to dip into the bullpen. There would have been like a little bit of a rush. Okay, you got out of that inning. Instead, and there was a little bit of momentum when he got the 2 quick outs. And suddenly the momentum just stopped. And out comes Lovullo, who is a fine manager and obviously has his team in the National League Championship Series. But he took him out for Mantiply. Is it Mantiply or Mantiply?
Mantiply.
Whoever he is. I just remember when that was happening, why are you doing this? Why are you taking your pitcher out at this point when he's showing, when he basically, the fifth inning, he got 3 straight strikeouts. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom.
Struck out the
He got
side.
up, let up the home run, couple runners on, but then he got back. It's like, okay, now he's back in his groove. And this is when I do sound like old man Sully. And I swear I'm not trying to be old man Sully here, but this is when I'm saying, is that what the numbers told you to do? Because at some point in the playoffs, you have to say, this pitcher can get us out. And you don't necessarily bring in a pitcher who wasn't pitched in a week
Mm-hmm.
to come in at a critical juncture. And they took him out. And I knew the nanosecond they took him out, in a feeling that I hadn't had this clearly since they took out Blake Snell in Game 6 of the World
Wow.
Series during the COVID year.
Oof.
Out he came, and I remember thinking, this game's now going to, they're going to blow the doors off the dump. And it's 3-0 game. A bloop and a blast, you're back in it.
Yeah.
6-0
It's over.
against this Phillies team. And so now, and the other important thing is, by it turning into a blowout, they didn't have to pitch Sir Anthony Dominguez. They didn't have to pitch Craig Kimbrell. They didn't have to go to some of their A relievers who are now going to have 2 days to sort of, they're going to have 2 days rest and be completely fresh for Game 3. And so I want your take on it, Mr. Diamondbacks, if that really is your name, to tell me your thoughts, because I thought that was a catastrophe while it happened.
Yeah, I haven't loved the decision making with Torey Lovullo so far this series, because I actually would have preferred if he pulled Zach Gallen a little bit earlier in the first inning, or not in the first inning, but in the first game, because I thought we saw early he didn't have it, gave up the 2 home runs in the first inning. I think by the time he gave up that Trey Turner double in the third, like, I think he should have been pulled there. But like you said with Merrill Kelly tonight, I felt confident in Merrill Kelly. He felt settled in those middle innings. And honestly, when you look at the box score, like, it was the epitome of just capitalizing on mistakes for this Phillies offense against Merrill Kelly, because, yeah, you said 3 solo home runs. Those were the only hits that Merrill Kelly allowed in this game. Outside of those 3 home runs, Merrill Kelly did not allow a hit. So anytime he did make a mistake, credit to the Phillies offense for, taking full advantage. But it's like, if Merrill Kelly was good enough to get Bryce Harper out in that inning, I think he probably could have been okay. Yes, Bryson Stott's a lefty, and you want to go with the lefty on lefty matchup, but Mantiply, I just don't have enough faith in him in that moment with what I've seen from him this season, as opposed to a Merrill Kelly who was settled in at that point in the game.
Yeah.
Like you said, I would have trusted him to keep going. And now it's like, it's almost like a wasted Merrill Kelly start, where you're not going to throw him out in like a Game 5 if you get to that point, because he had to pitch so deep into this ball game. It's like, can you throw him on short rest now later in the series? I don't know. So it's like, if he got through that 6 innings, I think the whole tenor of this ball game could have changed, and maybe it's closer. But it's a lot of what ifs with the D-backs through these first 2 games. But one thing that hasn't been a what if is the stark difference in these 2 offenses, because we've seen this Phillies offense come alive, get home runs, right? Come through late in this game. I mean, those 6th, 7th innings, I mean, were just disgusting for that Phillies offense. And vice versa, the D-backs offense, their bats just haven't been awake, and they've been striking out a ton against those Phillies pitchers. So credit to them.
And, Ketel Marte has showed up.
Yeah,
but
he's been a great postseason player in his whole career when you look at the numbers.
And he's been terrific. But everyone else, I mean, they had that 1 inning in game 1 where they got the 2-run homer. Other than that, they've scored 1 run. By the way, who I felt the one person who I think really benefited from removing Merrill Kelly at this particular juncture. Do you know who the one person who really benefited from it?
Who?
Slade Ciccone.
Hey, now we love Slade.
Slade was able to finally get into a postseason game. He's going to be able to tell his grandchildren that he played in the postseason. And I'm always interested when it's a blowout game, when you see who hasn't been in yet, and who's busting a box score at this point. So Slade Ciccone.
And Slade's been solid this year for the D-backs. So if
but he wasn't going to get in unless it was 10-0. They're not bringing him in a high leverage situation.
But if we get into like another, Brandon, we'll talk about Game 3 later. But if it's one of those Brandon Pfaadt, he gets, lit up a little bit early. I like Slade as like one of those long relievers over like a Ryan Nelson who we've seen early in this postseason. So I'm team Slade all the way. We'll be talking about adjustments for the D-backs in in game 3 and the rest of the series if the D-backs want to tie it up and eventually win the series. But of course, we still have aspirations of going to the World Series. And if you want to bet on the D-backs who potentially go to the World Series and still beat the Philadelphia Phillies in this series, you need to go to FanDuel because October baseball is back and you can make your postseason debut with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Join FanDuel today and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just visit fanduel.com/lockdown to create your new account. Then you can get in on the action from the first pitch until the final out. Bet on everything from strikeouts to home runs to who will win the game. And if you don't want to wait the whole game to get a W, predict what will happen in the next at bat with quick bets. And of course, I love to do a little same game parlay. It didn't hit tonight. If you're a Phillies fan, it probably hit if you did the reverse of my favorite bet, which is D-backs money line and the over on runs. If you did that for the Phillies, you probably made some money tonight, as I did not. So head over to fanduel.com/lockdown right now. Step up to the plate this postseason with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Make every moment more at FanDuel, official sportsman partner of Major League Baseball. And don't forget to catch every D-backs pitch on their hometown broadcast when you download the Sirius XM app and search up Diamondbacks. All right, back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks crossover with Sully Baseball. If you like the show, follow at Creator Thomas24 for the personal account, Locked on Diamondbacks, Twitter, Instagram. Of course, follow Sully Baseball, his personal account, or look up Locked on MLB, and of course, on all your podcasting platforms, and also hit subscribe on YouTube. So for the D-backs, down 2-0 in the series. Doesn't feel so good right now, Sully, but I'm not one of those people that are just going to write off the D-backs just because they look really bad so far. The Phillies are the most dominant team maybe we've ever seen the last 2 years at home in a postseason setting because that team has gone undefeated pre-World Series rounds the last 2 postseasons at home at Citizens Bank Park. I think the most electric atmosphere going right now. It's deafening in there. So for the D-backs, I don't want you to hold your head too low on yourselves right now. I know that game 2 was disgusting. You had that one play where you had the pop up on the infield. Once you saw that moment, it was like, all right, let's regroup. Let's get on the plane. Let's go back to Arizona and let's just get our head straight because I still believe in this D-backs team, but it's going to be tough and they're going to need to make some major adjustments moving forward. And I want to start it off with you, Sully. From what you've seen so far as the baseball historian you are, the encyclopedia, what have you seen from the D-backs so far this series that you think that they really need to improve on if they have any chance of coming back?
I think the manager's got to make some better decisions in handling his pitchers. The bats need to wake up.
Yeah, that's number one.
Carroll's. I mean, they hit the 2-run home. Who hit the 2-run home run? That was your catcher.
Domo. That was Domo.
It was Domo. Okay.
Yeah.
He hit the 2-run home run. Other than that, they've scored 1 run.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem.
And they're not getting opportunities, which is an issue too. They're not creating.
We've seen Marte got that double when there was still a 2-0 game.
Yeah.
And or it may have been 3-0. I can't remember, but it must have been 2-0 because when they got the 3rd home run off of Kelly, the 2nd home run hit by Schwarber, that made it 3-0, and then that's when they rallied. So it was a 2-0 game when Marte got that 1-out double. They've had runners on base.
Yeah, they've had time run opportunities a lot of the times.
But we need Christian Walker to do something in this series. You need Corbin Carroll to get on a roll. We need Gurriel to get on a roll. Marte is doing all the heavy lifting right now. And so, they need someone to go. They need someone to have like a 4-for-5 game with a couple of doubles. Here are some of the things that could work in the Diamondbacks' favor. The time in my life I saw a team down 2-0 where they looked maybe as bad as humanly possible, completely overmatched, you almost felt pity for them, was the 1996 World Series, where the first 2 games, the Braves absolutely trounced the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. The Braves were the defending World Series champions. They were dying to get a second title, win back-to-back titles, and be able to put their name along like the Big Red Machine and all the other great teams that won multiple titles. The first two games weren't even fair. It was a shutout blowout in one game. Maddox and Glavine. I remember Fred McGriff hit a home run off the foul pole. Andrew Jones matched Gene Tennis by hitting home runs in his first two World Series at bats. And they were going back to Atlanta, down 2-0, and the Yankees looked dead from their neck up.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing they would have to face Smoltz, Glavine, and Maddox each one more time. And I think it was Smoltz started game one, then Maddox started game two. So Glavine started game three. But either way, they were going to face Glavine, Maddox, Smoltz at least one more time. And they looked dead from the neck up. And they won the last 4 games.
Hey, we both grew up Red Sox fans, right? If you want to talk about Boston being down 3 runs, we've seen it in the past. So it's like just being down 2 runs in a series. I mean, we've seen so many sports teams and basketball, so many 7-game series the last couple of years. It's like, yeah, the D-backs look bad those first 2 games at Citizens Bank Park, but it's like, let's see the D-backs at Chase Field. Let's see what they look like in front of their home crowd. Let's see if D-backs fans can bring the energy. You probably can't match what those Phillies fans did, because I think they're just the most obnoxious, the loudest, probably the best crowd in baseball. But can we be 85% of that, 9% of that? And if that's true, let's bring a new life to this game and let's see what we can do.
And who's going to start for the Phillies? I mean, they've already Nola's a wonderful pitcher.
Maybe Suarez, it seems like. Ranger
Suarez. Suarez is fine. But Nola and Wheeler are much better than Suarez. Suarez is a fine pitcher. Okay, I'm not trying to belittle him, but this is when, Taijuan Walker would be really nice to have at this point if you're a Phillies fan, but I don't see that this is like an overwhelming pitching advantage for Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's like the same. Yeah, it's almost like the same case study that we saw in Game 3 against the Dodgers, where it's like if the Dodgers bats don't wake up against Brandon Pfaadt in that Game 3, they're probably never going to wake up. And it's probably the same with this D-backs team. If you can't get past those 3 and 4 starters in this Phillies rotation, you're probably never going to win this series, because the Zach Wheelers and the Aaron Nolas, those guys are on their game. This D-backs offense through the first 2 rounds, they were the best team in baseball at seeing the most pitches per plate appearance. And with 2 strikes, they had 10 RBIs in those situations. And against this Phillies offense, against these Phillies pitchers, like Wheeler and Nola are just attacking that strike zone. They're not allowing you to get deep counts. They're staying ahead of these batters against the D-backs consistently. And there's just too many times where I see the D-backs batters just strike out looking, or they just get caught at the plate, knees buckle, and they're just caught guessing on which pitch is coming next. I just think those 2 Philly frontline starters are just in complete command of everything they're doing, and this D-backs offense is going to have to wake up against the Suarez's of the world.
Okay, here's some hope for the Diamondbacks.
Mm-hmm.
If Arizona wins Game 3,
mm-hmm.
there's hope for them, because there's a Game 5 and Gallen's pitching Game 5, and you have a puncher's chance with Gallen pitching, and you have a puncher's chance with Kelly pitching. So if they win this Game 3, that's why winning one of the 2 games in Philadelphia was critical. They didn't. And you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. But they do have a chance, because they have those 2 excellent starting pitchers. And because they have those 2 excellent starting pitchers, if you force that Game 5, and Gallen could bring it back to Philadelphia, and you roll the dice with Kelly, then you could put you in a realistic chance to force a Game 7, which by all definitions is a coin toss.
Mm-hmm.
So Game 3 in so many ways is the key.
Yeah,
I don't see this team winning 4 straight. However, they could, if you take it one bite at a time. The Phillies, Suarez versus, say his last name, please. Fat, Pat, Bat, Pat, Banana Man, Bat, Bat, what's his name?
Fott. Yeah. Fott.
Boy, I got it completely wrong then.
Yeah, listen, I said it wrong for like 2 months on the pod,
yeah,
so you're all good.
His name looks like the spelling out of the air coming out of a balloon, which they hope that Fott is going to put the air out of Philadelphia's balloon. But that makes game 3 critical. They have to have their bats awake. They have to be handling like everyone has to thread that needle. And I'll give Torey Lovullo a little bit of, he was accountable tonight. When he did his post-game press conference. He was saying, we got to play, everyone's got to do better, including the manager. I mean, he didn't let himself off the hook. But this is critical because game 5, Gallen on the mound, you got to give yourself a shot.
Yeah.
And you also have to hope that this day off will kill a little bit of the momentum for the Philadelphia bats. You got to hope that there's a little bit of, they cool down a little bit. I mean, if they had to play again tomorrow, but, maybe getting off their rhythm or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm not saying this as a Diamondback fan or a Philly hater. I'm quite frankly neither. What I want to see is a game 7 some point.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, we all want that game 7. I mean, that's what sports are made for. Lovello's someone I'm going to be watching keenly in game 3 and moving forward just because I've had such a love-hate relationship with him throughout the regular season. I like the way he did the first couple rounds, but yeah, so far this series, he even threw Sal Frank out at the end. Thankfully, Sal Frank only needed 1 pitch, but it's like he's the D-backs best lefty, and there were just some question marks as to why you were throwing him out in a 10-0 blowout. Why would you throw out your best lefty for a guy like Bryce Harper to see of all dudes? But thankfully, you only needed 1 pitch, so the Phillies didn't get too much of a look at Sal Frank.
Just getting work. He was just probably rusty.
I mean, he might have been just rusty for sure. I mean, he's gonna have another couple of days off before he has to pitch. Again, hopefully he gets to go in game 3 because I do have a point on the bullpen that I want to make coming up as we're going to talk about Brandon Pfaadt and his game 3 start, and we'll just talk about some of the things that the D-backs need to do if they want to win that game 3 over the Philadelphia Phillies. But one thing that I hope the D-backs are wearing after the game, if they want to get a little comfy, Sully, is a pair of Bird Dog shorts because Bird Dogs make you look good. Bird Dog stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but fit way better. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of a stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs fix this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. Bird Dogs use anti-stink, sweat-wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. I love my Bird Dog shorts because I always smell good when I wear them. They make me feel super comfortable, and the best part, you can wear them for any occasion. Go to the grocery store, the gym, or even a wedding. Probably not there, but really great for any occasion. Maybe you wear them under your trousers at the wedding. Probably want to do that. So go to birddogs.com/lockedonmlb or enter promo code LockedOnMLB at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedonmlb for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. And don't forget to catch every D-backs pitch on their hometown broadcast when you download the Sirius XM app and search Diamondbacks.
All right.
All right, final segment here with Sully Baseball of Locked On MLB, and going to be talking a little bit about Game 3 against the Philadelphia Phillies because the one silver lining I think you can say, because I think Brandon Pfaadt's going to have incredibly short leash here if he gets off to a slow start, and I say it's a silver lining because one thing the D-backs haven't done yet is really utilize the best relievers in their bullpen, right? We did see 1 pitch out of Sal Frank, who's the D-backs best lefty, but he's still got little work so far. Ryan Thompson, Kevin Ginkel, Paul Sewald. So basically the top 4 relievers for the D-backs have yet to be seen against the Philadelphia Phillies. So if Brandon Pfaadt can somehow just make it through another 4 innings like he did against the Dodgers, right? Just get us through 4 innings, clean baseball. Maybe you give up 1 earned run. Like the hook is going to be so quick for Brandon Pfaadt. Any mistake he makes is going to be pulled immediately. But that could be okay in this kind of situation because the D-backs' best relievers are healthy and they should be ready to go. So I expect Game 3 to be a big bullpen game where you see the best D-backs relievers, and that could potentially give them the best shot to finally get a win and be on the board in this NLCS.
Yeah, and I think that I think the DAF is going to be a chance to clear their head. I
Mhm.
do. I think there's going to be a chance to be in front of the home cooking, and I also think it's critical for the Diamondbacks to jump out to an early lead.
They
I
have
think
to,
they
yeah.
have to jump out, and they got to put the Phillies on their heels a little bit. Because I've mentioned on the show my least favorite kind of baseball games are a team takes an early big lead and hangs on. And
Yeah,
so
those are
far,
very fun.
that seems to be every game this postseason.
That's
You
all the
know,
D-backs are doing against the Dodgers.
yeah.
First inning, take the lead, and that's it.
Well, you know what? They better look at this next pitcher, whoever the Phillies are going to start, and just in their mind, just close their eyes and picture Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully that works out for them. Ranger Suarez might be on the mound for the Philadelphia Phillies. I do have a question as to whether does Torey Lovullo want to switch up the lineup at all? I mean, Evan
Yes,
Longoria has looked a little bit
yes,
longer in the tooth as this series has
yes.
gone on. Maybe you want to switch that up, go with some young blood like a Jordan Lawler, go with Emmanuel Rivera. I don't know if you want to try to, maybe like a Lawler, like that young youth, maybe just does something crazy. I don't think he's ready for a postseason setting, but maybe just try to do something to spark this offense if you're Torey
They
Lovullo.
need to do something.
Mhm.
They need to do something. This is not, well, we're going by the book right now. You have to do something to spark this team. If it means benching a veteran, if it means mixing up the lineup, file that under who cares. You're 2 losses away from playing golf. And maybe rearranging the lineup will be exactly what this team needs to do. But we've seen their offense, which seemed to be able to homer at will against Los Angeles,
Mhm.
save for 2 innings, has been completely dormant now against Philadelphia.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's kind of where you want the D-backs to get to their roots because they weren't a home run hitting team in the regular season. They were a team that lived in chaos, lived in the small ballness of Major League Baseball. So it's like maybe we do see Perdomo lay down a couple more bunts at home. We
something.
haven't seen the D-backs even take off, right? We haven't seen Corbin Carroll really try to steal bases in this series, and he's been getting on base at least a couple times. So let's try to get a little bit more aggressive on this base path. We know this Phillies defense isn't that good. And we haven't really been able to test this Phillies defense, make them make plays on the diamond. So let's do that. Let's create havoc. We always say our hashtag right now on Twitter is embrace the chaos. So let's get chaotic. Let's wreak havoc and let's put dudes on the bases and let's start sending guys in. You know what? Maybe to a point, get a little bit overly aggressive because at this point, it's not like the D-backs have been able to score runs. So maybe you try to steal a third base when you shouldn't, or go from first to third when you shouldn't. You have elite speed on this D-backs team. So I think you can at least afford to manage those risks and weigh the cost benefit there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Thank you.
Hey, before we wrap up here, I'm going to throw a trivia question out, and this is also going
Oh,
to go out to the Arizona Diamondbacks trivia fans because it's a Diamondbacks related question. The Diamondbacks have lost the first 2 games of this NLCS. They got swept in the NLCS in 2007. The last time they won an NLCS game was the clincher in 2001, where they won 3-2 against the Braves. Those 2 runs. Now, this was a team that was filled. The game was filled with future Hall of Famers. Chipper Jones, Randy Johnson, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, they all played in that game. But what 42-year-old Atlanta Brave hitter drove in both of the runs the last time the Diamondbacks won an NLCS game for a losing cause? A aging veteran for the Braves provided all the offense. Which player was that? 2001 veteran provided all the offense for the Atlanta Braves last time the Diamondbacks won an NLCS game. That's my trivia question for you. Try to do it without cheating, kind of like me
yeah.
doing the immaculate grid, or try to do it without, I don't look it up. I do it by memory. So there you go.
Full honestly, just looked it up. But fun fact, this dude, who I'm not going to say his name, played until the age of 48 years old. I would like to see where that stacks up amongst, just the oldest players to grace the baseball diamond. I mean, he played from 82 to '07. That's a long career right there. So shout out
I
this guy.
I, I was a 10-year-old in 5th grade when he began playing, and I was a father of 2 when he finished.
That's crazy. That's actually crazy when you think about it.
That's a career, folks. That's a career. Okay. Millard Thomas, where can we find your show?
Hey, at Career Thomas 24 for the personal account. Look up Locked On Diamondbacks, both Twitter and Instagram. Please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube, and we're on all your podcasting platforms.
And you can follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and or whatever it's called now. And your pal Simon, Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Doing a crossover. Who's hosting? I'm taking over right now. Millard Thomas. I'm Paul Francis Owen. Please call me Sully. And for another week, we could fist bump, and hopefully this series will go 7.
Boom.